Welcome to Evolve Together with Empower People, where people are power. I'm Tiffany Joy Greene, MBA. Here, clarity cuts, humor heals, and purpose drives transformation. Join the movement at www.empowerpeople.org and connect with us on YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook, because when people are power, purpose wins. Welcome to Evolve Together with Empower People. I'm Tiffany Joy Greene. Lately, the headlines feel like they're consuming us rather than informing us. We are living in a moment where visibility trumps narrative, where video, lawsuits, protests, and international tension collide in one headline after another. Today, we're not here to pick sides. We're here to make sense of what's happening, why it matters to you, and what you can do with this information. We're going to slow down the signal, decode it, and help you reclaim agency, not panic. Before we jump fully into today's headlines, we need to ground ourselves in our story, because the patterns we're seeing right now didn't come out of nowhere. Between January 10th and January 17th, American history repeatedly shows us moments when authority, protest, and public conscience collided. On January 10th, 1946, the very first meeting of the United Nations General Assembly takes place. This mattered because it represented a post-war recognition that unchecked power leads to global instability. Cooperation and legitimacy had to replace force alone. On January 11th, 1964, the U.S. Surgeon General releases the first major report linking smoking to cancer. This was a turning point where evidence challenged long-standing narratives, forcing institutions to confront inconvenient truths despite resistance. On January 13, 1964, Kitty Genovese is murdered in New York City, leading to national conversations about bystander responsibility, civic duty, and what happens when people assume someone else will act. On January 15, 1929, Martin Luther King Jr. is born. A reminder that transformational change doesn't begin with authority, it begins with moral clarity, disciplined nonviolence, and collective courage. On January 16, 1919, the 18th Amendment is ratified, launching prohibition, a powerful example of how policy driven by moral certainty but disconnected from lived reality can fracture trust and produce unintended consequences. And on January 17, 1961, President Dwight D. Eisenhower delivers his farewell address, warning Americans about the rise of the military-industrial complex and the danger of power accumulating without public oversight. That warning still echoes today. So when we look at the headlines unfolding now, federal authority, protests, sovereignty, surveillance, enforcement, we are not seeing something new. We are seeing a recurring American tension. Who holds power? Who grants legitimacy? And what happens when people no longer trust that the two are aligned? That is the through line, then and now. Minnesota and Twin Cities sue to stop federal immigration surge. Minnesota and the Twin Cities filed a federal lawsuit to halt a major ICE enforcement surge after the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer, arguing the operation violates federal law and constitutional rights. This follows protests and tensions in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Purpose lens: when communities take legal action, that is not just policy pushback, it's citizens asserting constitutional boundaries. When institutions ignore dissent, people use the system to reclaim their rights. Protests across the U.S. against ICE enforcement tactics. Thousands rallied nationwide after the fatal shooting of Renee Good and subsequent aggressive federal enforcement in Minneapolis and Oregon, criticizing tear gas use, militarized presence, and constitutional infringement. Purpose lens: protests are public data points. They reveal what systems do to people. Noise without narrative guidance invites anxiety. Protest without context invites chaos. Trump threatens to invoke the Insurrection Act in Minnesota. President Trump threatened to deploy military troops in Minnesota under the Insurrection Act to quell protests, escalating a federal-state clash over enforcement authority and civil unrest. Purpose lens. Deploying military powers domestically signals a fundamental tension between order and freedom. Power without restraint erodes trust, even among those it claims to protect. ACLU and others sue over ICE tactics. Civil liberties organizations and individuals filed lawsuits accusing federal immigration agents of racial profiling, unconstitutional arrests, and aggressive tactics targeting communities during the enforcement surge. Purpose lens. When legal institutions are used to challenge enforcement, that's not disruption, that's constitutional engagement. Justice isn't reactive, it's responsive. Updated Greenland developments. The government of Greenland has rejected any U.S. takeover and reaffirmed that its defense should be guaranteed through NATO, not under unilateral U.S. control, following continued interest from President Trump in acquiring or controlling the territory. Officials stress that Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark and not for sale, reinforcing respect for sovereignty and the international law. Purpose lens. Talk about territorial acquisition isn't just geography, it's sovereignty, legitimacy, and consent. Authority without legitimacy isn't power, it's insecurity. The Free America Walkout, clarity over chaos. We're also seeing conversations and plans around the Free America Walkout scheduled for January 20th. This is a coordinated initiative encouraging people to leave workplaces or routines to protest what organizers describe as threats to rights and freedom. Let's break this down clearly. 1. What it is. A protest movement encouraging walkouts across various sectors, not just a march, but a collective interruption of business as usual. 2. Why it matters. Walkouts historically are powerful because they take routine, the things that support daily life, and challenge it. That sends a signal. Systems are not working as they should. 3. What it is not. It's not a unified political directive. People participating come from various motivations. The question is not whether you should, but do you understand what you're aligning with? 4. How to decide with integrity. If you choose to participate, do so with eyes open about your context and risks. Know the legal protections and responsibilities in your location. Separate signal from amplification. Protest is a tool, not a slogan. Purpose lens. People are not powerless. They are determining how to respond intentionally to collective tension. Clarity precedes participation. What you can do. Here's how to move from feeling overwhelmed to thinking with agency. 1. Separate signal from spin. Headlines tell you what happened. Context helps you understand why it matters. 2. Focus on what you can influence locally. Your neighborhood, your workplace, your circle. 3. Slow down interpretation. Don't let headlines dictate your internal state. 4. Design your responses with purpose, not panic. Reactive energy divides. Intentional energy aligns. 5. Build habits of discernment. Ask, what evidence do I have? What is unproven? What is my role? And this is where I step in if you feel misaligned. Not anxious, not polarized, but misaligned with your own decision framework in leadership and business. If you feel like the world is happening faster than your clarity, that's what we work through in the Purpose Reset Architecture session, link below. In 1 hour, we slow everything down, make sense of what you're carrying, and design your next intentional step in your leadership and business. Clarity is not accidental, it's engineered. This isn't a story about fear. It's a story about orientation. The world is noisy, but clarity is a choice. This is Evolve Together with Empower People, where clarity beats chaos, where people remain the power. Stay awake, stay grounded, stay intentional. Become a member of Empower People for free. the link below, and remember to subscribe.